Hello, guys. Thank you for hanging out so long here. I mean, it's a full day of panels, so thank you for you guys that are here. I know that's starting, but we try to make like a panel that will inform and at least entertain you a bit. Just introducing myself, I'm Rodrigo from Iporanga Ventures. We are like a Brazilian VC fund that invests in Latin America, seed stage, mainly in blockchain and fintech companies. And my job there is basically lead the research team and everything related to crypto initiatives. So this is like my everyday, so thank you for receiving me. Thank you for the team for inviting. I want my colleagues to introduce yourselves. Guys, please state your name, company, and I want you to start answering the first questions that, why do you think, I do think that, I don't know if you agree, but I hope so, that Latam can be like a relevant player in the OpenFi ecosystem. So if you think so, like state why, and that's it for the first question.
Hello, my name is João Ferreira. I'm the co-founder of Picnic. We are basically building a way to allow non-Web3 natives, to allow non-technical people to access products that are built on-chain. So now we can get basically any fintech user to do a swap using a decentralized exchange. In a few minutes, without education, you log in with email, you deposit via Pix in Brazil. We're very localized for Brazil. And instantly, you deposit 100 reais, you get 100 Brazilian real stablecoins, and you can spend that to buy Ethereum or whatever you want. You pay gas fees using local stablecoins. It's a very seamless experience, and we're really focusing not needing to educate the user. So it's intuitive, no effort along. And I think the root that a lot of countries in Latam share is instability, and I think there is demand for stability.
Political and financial, right?
Yeah, all sorts of.
Political, you can't avoid it, right? I think it's like 30, 40 years of just chaos. So I think we kind of thrive in that environment, right?
Sometimes it's working, but might not last too long, right?
Well, not all the time, right?
Not all the time, not in all countries. So I think that underpins a lot of the region. And the way I see those kinds of technologies and that sort of infrastructure is a way for us to get access to stable markets, being that like market US dollars and things like that, but also native digital assets like Ethereum, Bitcoin, and et cetera. So I think there's a huge demand for better financial systems and more stable, both in terms of assets, but also infrastructure.
Hello, my name is Claudio. I'm co-founder of Mento. We're a multi-chain liquid staking platform. We're based out of Mexico and Argentina. We've been on mainnet for 3 years. We support EVM and non-EVM assets, Solana, Near, ICP, of course, Ethereum mainnet, Aurora, Q blockchain, and a few others. We have around close to 120 million TVL. We've been global since day one. And for us, the most important part is we believe that liquid staking is the auto-compounding digital savings account for what we're calling frontier markets. I'm kind of sick and tired of like emerging markets, it's like, or third world countries. I'm like, okay, dude, that's what we are, and that's what we will always be. I don't see us going into like any other status. But in crypto, for me, it's frontier markets because the regions, the global south, is going to be where crypto mass adoption will happen, will thrive. Now, for us, we believe that LSTs are what, like I said before, a digital auto-compounding savings account, right? And so that's why for 2025, we're going to be supporting an over-collateralized stablecoin because as my fellow has just said, we need stability, right? Politically, well, no, just first let's start economically. And in Mexico, and I being from Tijuana, right, we're a border town, like it's, for me, it's normal, access to dollars is like on the corner, right? But for folks in Argentina, it's super difficult, right? It is illegal for you to have a US dollar-based account. So, of course, there are very heavy DAI users, very heavy Tron users. And so we believe that stablecoins are this tipping spear of what we will call like sovereign individuals, right? Because as individuals start to understand that with digital asset they can have full control of the value that they're creating online, I think this will go like a full-on renaissance for what we're calling the global south. And that's actually why we're here, right? And so, yeah, bullish on it, and more importantly, just very happy that it's a full-on Latam team building a global product from day one.
Thanks. Hello, I'm Rob, co-founder at Pods. At Pods, we are enabling fintechs, exchanges, and wallets to have like lending and borrowing as a feature inside their app. So it's a B2B system. We also had a sidetrack this year, I think that is very relevant for this panel, that we helped the Brazilian Central Bank with the pilot project of their CBDC, implementing the ZK privacy layer on top of their blockchain, one of the solutions they are testing 3. And I think answering the question, I think adding to the instability, for some use cases, I think is more than just stability, I think is access. Like I think one of the use cases that we see recently is like Venezuela. They don't even, it's more than having a stable coin, it's like having access to transfer. So we have a lot of refugees, Venezuelan refugees in Brazil, for example, that don't have access to bank accounts. So I think Latin America is like a big example of one of the biggest ethos in crypto back in the days, like bank to bank. I think that's real in some places in Latin America, and we can really see that Venezuela is an example there.
Cool. We have heard about stablecoins now already 3 times in this round. My name is Markus. I'm working on Mento. Mento is a platform for local currency stablecoins. I've been working on Mento and Cello for the past 7 years. Cello is becoming more and more a hub for stablecoins because it makes transactions with stablecoins fast, cheap, and easy. And Cello currently, and this reminded me of your question, has like this campaign, crypto is useless except you're an area where you need actually access to stable currencies, or except you live in an area where you need access to cheap remittances, or you need a way how to send money to your friends, or you need something stable to save in. So I think Latam is like that area where you need all of these things. On Mento, we so far have 2 stablecoins in Latin America. We have a Colombian peso and a Brazilian real, and we always, in the end, we only work on basically the infrastructure that you need for a stablecoin, and then local projects on the ground that have local knowledge then launch this stablecoin.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you for your answers. And yeah, I totally agree. There's like a lot of elements that come from necessity of this adoption. But I think, and follow up with my next question, I think Latam has a huge potential also because we have like a conjunction of things like regulatory environment, we'll get there, but especially population that's like really keen to adopt technology. Like it's crazy to see like products like Pix, for instance, reaching 100 million users under 20 months, or even like the open banking in Brazil, also like having like huge numbers surpassing even UK in like market penetration and like data sharing APIs calls. So, and like we love cell phones, we love social media, so it's a chronically online and digitalized population. And my question goes in this direction. I mean, we have been seeing the population adopt new technologies, for instance, like wallets, digital wallets in Colombia during the pandemic. So the population is always used to adopt new technologies, and it's keen to that. But do you think this can be translated to crypto? And if yes, how can we onboard these people that are keen to adopt new things because they have problems into the blockchain and DeFi space? I mean, I want to hear like a bit from each of you, and after that I will go to specific questions.
I think, yeah, Brazil, like huge population, 200 million people. Latam, 660 million. And what we have been seeing in Picnic, like it's basically a very easy way to assess on-chain products and non-custodial. People like to try new things, and once you can communicate a very clear benefit, in our case is usually the non-custodial piece, people are willing to try and experiment, and that goes back to demand for stability, right? So people basically, they want Bitcoin because it's an asset that a lot of people see as escape from the country. So if Brazil goes in a very bad direction, you can still have money, you can still like move out of the country in terms of something like that. So that role, I think it's more palpable. It's closer to day to day. And like, if you build that and if you can communicate and if you can educate that that's a thing, I think you get users. Now the biggest challenge I see we face is really explaining why you should have some of these assets and getting people, and why shouldn't you put that in a centralized exchange. Maybe if it's in a centralized exchange, that can get blocked if things get really, really unstable as well. So getting the full benefits of the asset prices and also of the infrastructure being outside that very unstable bubble. I think if you can communicate, there's huge demand for that, just because instability underpins everything.
But I think one thing that surprised me, like a few of our clients, especially the Central America and like Venezuela, and some wallets there, they don't even have BTC, because for them, stability is already achieved with USDC. And then we have like these other layers that, okay, we also have inflation in USDC, and you also have like some political problems regarding USDC. Let's go to the new asset, the BTC. So I see this difference between wallets in some places in Latin America.
I think the challenge that we have, and I've seen it here, I've been traveling for the last 9 weeks in Southeast Asia, and I see that similar problem in Latam or in Mexico, is that most of the crypto activity right now, it's done in centralized exchanges. That's no denying that, right? I think, and there's just such handful of protocols that have successfully done the playbook of, okay, I'm going to have such an important feature or product that people are willing to move from a centralized exchange over to a wallet, right? Solana is a great example of that, right? So yes, it is a casino. Let's be just totally honest about that. But let's be honest as well, right? Like Vietnam is the 3rd largest user for crypto. And it's still very much centralized exchange focused. But still, a lot of folks are going there buying Solana, then going to the casino, right? And then doing that several times. And that's why we've seen this massive growth that Solana has happened. Now, for other assets such as Ethereum, right? Right now it's super expensive, right? That's reality. Okay, L2s, okay, now another layer, right? Can they, okay, configure the wallet, can they put in it there? So it's not that easy, right? How do we make it seamless? People complain about the UX. I will say more interoperability than on anything else, right? The UX, that's fine, we will solve that. But the problem is like they have to go through 2 or 3 loops in order for them to be a sovereign individual, right? Again, non-custodial, custodial, that's like the basic thing. And folks don't understand that. And to be honest, why would they, right? That's the reality. For us, more crypto native, yes, we want decentralization. Yes, we want non-custodial. For the people out there, they do not. They want email, password, and somebody that can reset it, right? And I think chain abstraction is going to be one of these things that is going to help us abstract this layer of complexity. Are we there? Not yet. Will we get there? Yes. Should we get there quicker? Hell yes, right? And I think here is where Solana has done a really great job. Even though I was not a fan of that technology, to be honest, they executed super well, right? Coordinated, and they have, yes, their tip and spear. The tip in their spear is like solid. Now, can they drive more growth? I think they will, right? Now, can other protocols, and as an ecosystem in Latin America, do we choose the easy path? Hell yes. Hell yes, because at the end of the day, it's like If somebody's already paving the way, you just go through it. You go behind it, right? Do you try to compete? That's perfect, and I'm all for it. Open competition, right? This is what open finance brings, right? But I think we're still very, very early. Like, and I know everybody's tired of hearing this, but at the end of the day, we need to just keep on the drums that we're still early. There's still a lot of unknown unknowns, but the most important part is how do we make it seamless for the users? And right now, with the current tools that we have, I think it's still an uphill battle.
I agree, it's very early, but I also think we're getting there really, really fast. I mean, there's now more and more wallets that are really easy to use, that abstract away all the Web3 difficulties, and also targeting end users, and so without any like previous knowledge. And home biased, working on Cello, there's, for example, on Cello this feature that you can link your phone number to a public address, that you can find other users with the phone number and send basically money to your friends by just knowing their phone number. I think these features are extremely important to get there, to exactly what you mentioned, to then actually enable everyone, not only like the Web3 experts. There are wallets like, for example, MiniPay, that are growing extremely fast, that already use these features and abstract away the whole like Web3 experience. So I agree, we are not there yet, but we are actually very close.
No, you got a great point there. Like there's a neobank in El Salvador called Dito Banks, and we're gonna start to see, and to be honest, for everyone out here, that you should put some emphasis in El Salvador and see how setting up a crypto company there is like, it will give you advantages, right? Just leave it out, just something there for people to think over, right? But what they're doing is really great. So this is a bank that is accepting crypto from day one. Yeah. BTC, ETH, and USDC, USDT. And they're helping, there's going to be more like this, right? Once we have regulatory clarity on other countries, right? But right now, people are setting up shop in El Salvador and leveraging that licensing system that El Salvador government is offering.
And in our first, like in the beginning here, we mentioned like different needs, for example, for stability, but there's also need, for example, for cheap remittances, and sending money from the US to Mexico still costs like 15%. Or I saw in Colombia, for example, small and medium businesses, only like 15% of them have access to bank credit. All the others need to find other ways to get credit to fund their business. And I think these are the use cases that are becoming more and more interesting for our technology.
Yep, and interesting for you to say about credit, because it like correlates directly with what the next question was going to make. And first go to Rob specifically right now. You mentioned that Pods is like working in this like credit as a service product on blockchain. And well, we know that the population in Latam is like underbanked and don't have access usually to credit, and some people don't have even access to credit cards. So I want to comment a bit on that. Like, of course, like one of the biggest problems is the lack of collateral, among many others. But I think like having like a secure and good collateral is like something. How do you see like collateral in crypto helping that, and even in the B2C and the B2B side, like for people and for small bit of business, we know that like there's like a huge credit gap for SMBs in Latam, $1.8 trillion. So feel free to.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think like after solving the stability problem, the remittance problem, I think credit is one of the main problems that we should solve. And I think crypto, in that sense, we are lacking behind a little bit, because if you pick like Aave, like the biggest names is over collateral lending, and this is not like real lending for in the real world, like especially like for those who like can't save money. Asking them, oh, you need like over collateralize in order to lend. It's not the real land when you think about the world, right? I think this is one of the first things that you should teach to someone. Oh, you can lend in Aave. Actually, it's not real lending. It's over collateral lending. So
it's more like a leverage mechanism than lending, right?
Exactly. It's a short. You can short anyway. So I think one of the biggest challenges that crypto should face right now, and I think we are moving forward, is like how do we do under collateral lending? And I think in order to solve that, you need to connect with identity. I think it's very important to have identity connected in order to solve this. And also, together with identity, I think we should start accepting other types of collateral rather than BTC or ETH or stables. For example, there's a startup in Brazil that accepts cell phones as collateral. What if we tokenize the cell phone and then you do micro-lending on top of these assets? So I think RWAs, like collateralizing new types of assets and then doing under collateral lending is the way that we should move towards. But I think we still not there yet.
Yeah, true. I mean, there's a long road ahead. And then even the B2B space, like there's other opportunities of assets such as like receivables in Brazil, that's huge. But well, moving to the next one, Markus, it's your turn. Well, I mean, Latin America is all about stablecoins, especially USDT. But I mean, people are used to use centralized stablecoins. How do you see this? I mean, in your point of view, like, is this good? Is it bad? You think like we need like more decentralized stablecoins in the ecosystem? And if yes, how can we get there?
I think having access to dollar stablecoins is great. In many countries where there's high inflation, where your local currency loses value against the dollar, this is always a great thing that you actually could have the opportunity, if it's possible. In Argentina, for example, it could be difficult, but if it's possible to go into a dollar stablecoin, then this is amazing for people who want to save. But also building on what Rob mentioned around micro-lending, if you look at the other side, if you are a small entrepreneur, a business that needs to get a loan and you need to borrow, then maybe a dollar stablecoin is not so great because you have your revenues in local currency. If you sell your goods, you get local currency in most cases. So if then your local currency loses value against the dollar, it would make that loan really expensive. So you as the entrepreneur would actually bear the FX risk, something you don't want to do. And this is why we are focusing on adding not only decentralized, but also local currency stablecoins to the range of stablecoins that exist, so that if you're, for example, in Colombia, you need to get a loan, you're afraid that the Colombian peso loses value against the dollar and you don't want to get a loan in dollar, then you actually have the opportunity to get a loan in local currency. And this is why we want to partner with a bunch of like lending organizations in these different markets that have then access to users, have maybe experienced what type of collateral could make sense or what type of data could make sense as to evaluate the credit risk. But in the end, what we want to then support with is the local currency stablecoin in every country.
Perfect. And moving on to Claudio, I want to ask you about like investments, right? I mean, when you're thinking about like giving people empowerment, financially speaking, investments and having yield over their money, it's paramount. So how do you see like OpenFi, the OpenFi ecosystem, OpenFi solutions solving that, especially in a region that like we have like high interest rates, so you need to in some way or another compensate that. I mean, we have yield-bearing stable coins and other opportunities such as staking, but I want to know your take on that.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges we have is that people are not used to like financial services.
Save money.
Saving. No, that's reality. Yeah, like. And in myself, right? I started saving like when I was 35 or something like that, man. So one important aspect here is I think the younger generation understands the leverage that they have with digital assets now. I think that's the key opportunity, right? That's why they're going, and again, right? That's why they're going to the casino right now, right? It's all these young folks like putting in $10, $5 and then leveraging like crazy or whatever, right? They will get burned and wrecked, but they will learn. And on the next cycle, they're going to be more savvy, and during the VAR, they're going to like really woman up and man up, right? In the sense that understand how to leverage these financial services in order for them to gain that yield. In this case, what we believe is that there's a learning curve, right? We believe that staking is kind of like the de facto. If you have a proof of stake token and you're not staking, then what are you doing with that? Yeah. Yes, you might be speculating, that's fine. But then again, fine, speculate, but stake, right? Yeah. Because you need to participate. And in that learning curve, you start then to talk about over-collateralization, right? What's the over-collateralization rate? And you need to start to educating them. But it's just a step-by-step process, and the challenge here is that they're really young. Some of them do not, and this is, I was laughing the other day, there's this person, KOL, right? It says, you only have 2 user personas. Either it's the degenerates or it's the retards, and that's it, right? And for us, it's difficult to grasp that. But the reality is that, right? Do you make it like super leverage for the degens, or do you keep it simple, stupid for retards, right? And this is not don't take it this personally, anyone out there, right? Just this is how people right now are behaving in front of the different crypto ecosystems or dApps that we're putting in front of them. And so I think staking is not that sexy, right? Yeah. It is an underlying asset that people kind of like take for granted. And I think the challenge is, how do we educate, and how do we become the first stepping stone into open finance?
Yeah, cool. And like, we're almost without time here, but I want to like ask one or two questions if it's possible. João, well, I mean, we talked a bit earlier about like how can we educate and like onboard people. But we are seeing a movement globally, I think. I mean, BlackRock is entering the tokenization market, big institutions, centralized institutions. And Latin America is not different. I mean, we have BTG partnering with Circle, Nubank also, and many other institutions. Do you think like they entering the space is a threat, or they will help the market to evolve?
I think it's both, probably. So my general thinking about that, I think it's very hard for those players to get in some specific niches. So I think it will be a while until we see like a big Brazilian bank to offer staking on ETH, staking on EUR. Probably it took a bit longer. So I think the opportunity for us is really to focus in the more uncertain aspects of the market and ship faster and create value there. But on the other hand, like BTC, ETF, and all those things, they drive up the tide. So we see positive aspects coming from that.
Yeah, I think institutions play an important role of giving legitimacy to the industry. And so it comes with a price, don't get me wrong, right? But at the end of the day, for example, in Mexico, we see Banco Azteca, and you can go to Electra, which is a consumer supermarket, and you can pay with Bitcoin. Do people in Mexico do that often? Hell no. But it's there, right? And also Banco Azteca, which is part of Grupo Electra, they have closed the deal with Circle. And so now you're going to be able to have USDC and then change it over to fiat, to Mexican pesos. So it's happening. It's slowly and then suddenly, right? So they will get there. At least in Mexico, we're so close to the US that if right now with the current administration, right, it's like all pro-crypto. Is the Mexican government going to be a little bit pro-crypto? Maybe not. But at the end of the day, they will start to open up conversations, which hopefully eventually will give us more regulatory landscape that we can really launch projects, ambitious projects.
Cool. And just news here, Bitcoin just like crossed the 90K barrier. Just kidding, just kidding. I was trying to get your attention just for this final question. Well, I mean, a lot of people
no price predictions, please, mate.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to get attention.
Nothing we say here, folks, should be considered financial advice.
Exactly.
Do your own research.
Just like to end this, so like people is still here. I think they might be interested in the region or even building something that like just final comments really quick because we don't have any time anymore. Do you have any tips, advices for people that are entering the region, trying to understand the region, or trying to build in the region?
Yeah, just a bit context on us. Like before we did the local integrations with stablecoins, we are like a DeFi product. So we're operating globally, like doing the very Web3 native route. The reason why we chose Brazil, a part of it was because we are Brazilians, and it's easier to do things there.
Fair enough.
Like, but the other aspect, it was because there was really good local stablecoin infrastructure. So I think there's this cool primitives that, in my perception, are ahead of other places. And I think we'll see the local stablecoins all around the globe be the de facto way for people to on and off ramp
Because local stablecoins, they make money on yield, so they can subsidize the on and off ramp. So it's the cheapest long-term sustainable way for people to on and off ramp. Like we don't spend anything to on and off ramp for free for users. Like that's fully subsidized by the stablecoin providers, both in Brazil and in Europe. And that sort of primitive that is unlocked by a specific market, I think that's very valuable to learn and then expand elsewhere.
Super cool insight.
I would add on top of João, not only the primitives, but I think also the regulation, right? I think Brazil is one of the most open countries regarding crypto regulation. Like, we are not there yet. I think it's more talk than action. But we have like open regulators, like open to sit in the same table, to invite you to hear what's your opinion about it. So I think also it's a special place if you want to give your take and like have something, kind of like having some control about where the crypto is going regarding regulation. So that's my take also.
God bless Robertinho.
And maybe to also build on the point João made, because I can't add local experience, I think the nice thing then about the decentralized stablecoins is that you can actually make it governable by the users, what to do with the yield on collateral, if it should go into subsidizing on and off ramps, if it should go and be forwarded into other incentives, if like it is governable instead of like having a centralized decision on what to do with it. And this is why I'm really excited about that. And on your remark, I'm not 100% sure that this panel is the reason for Bitcoin crossing 90K. But
no, so for builders out there, right, interested in Latin America, first thing that I would say is just be mindful of the cultural differences, right? When we say mañana in Mexico, well, yes, it's going to take a while, right? But most importantly for me is understand what do you want to leverage. You want to go to Brazil, you have a very big internal market, right? And this is my 2 cents on it, don't quote me on it, but of course you need local partners there. You're not going to do it by yourself. You can't. And I think this is even for the global south. Now, for Mexico is, yes, you will get a lot of cross-border activity, right? Remittances and consolidation of payments. And I think that's an important part, that if you want to understand how you can leverage each and every one of these countries, you have to go there. Like, you cannot expect doing a research online or ask ChatGPT to give you the answers. So do connect with local builders there. Do it online, have a few talks, but we have to see you on the ground. Like you can, and this is something that I learned. I've been doing a lot of reach out in Southeast Asia for the last 3 years, and 48 hours landing in, I knew that what we did the last 2 years was just not going to work, right? Simple things as, for example, in Korea, right? They don't use Telegram, right? They don't use it. And so why are we building then, for the last 2 years, why have we building Telegram groups there, right? In Mexico, yes, you can do Telegram, but no, we use WhatsApp. That's what we use, right? So that's reality. So you need to understand where those levers are going to be, and then, but only local folks are going to tell you. And ask. Do not be afraid to be naive or ask stupid questions. Just be forward, like, I don't understand this, and then have an open conversation. People are keen to learn from you, but more importantly, like, they're keen to do business as well, right? And so I think that's the most important part for folks that want to go and do business in Latin America.
Well, I think that's it. Thank you, guys. If you could like give a warm round of applause for our panelists here, it'd be awesome.